you doing, Tyler?
Hey, doing good. How you doing?
See you very well. Why are we here?
Yeah, so people have been really sweet over the last week as we reach out and say, how you doing? How can we be praying for you? People reach out back and they want to know how we're doing, which is very kind of you. And often in the moment, all I can say is, doing fine. Thanks. And I don't think that's really what people want. So
I'm getting texts back from people saying, no, I want to know how you're really doing.
Yeah.
They're really asking. They're not just being nice.
Yeah.
So we're here to talk a little bit about how we're doing and how we see things and what our perspective has been in the midst of this pandemic, crisis, whatever you want to call it, you know. So I'll start by saying this. And it's not really an answer to the question, how are we doing? But I think it's important. I recalled this morning, and I talked about this a lot at the end of 2019 and at the beginning of 2020. Our lead pastor for all of Redemption Church, Tyler Johnson, declared that 2020 was going to be the year that Redemption Church truly became a praying church. We've always prayed. I've never been around a church that prays as much as we do, but Tyler's like, it's not enough.
Yeah.
We need to really depend on God. We need to pray more. We need to pray deeply. We need to pray well. And we had spent a lot of time pushing into that. And then this crisis happens. And guess what? We've got to pray. And we've been praying. It's almost like there's nothing. What else are you going to do?
Yeah.
Well, we've tried everything else. Let's pray. Well, now we're praying. And we're praying deeply and we're praying well. And so I know there's that little voice that some people have, be careful what you ask God for, but this has been good. That's like a silver lining in this cloud so far for us.
Yeah, I was just talking with one of the other pastors about trying to discern what is God doing in just the big picture sense in the church and in the entire world, which is crazy. But in the church, for Christians, maybe in some ways this is a call towards a more contemplative faith.
Yes.
To unplug, because I think right now we've heard jokingly, finally get to watch that Netflix show I've been wanting to watch. Finally, I think we're going to get to the bottom of that really quickly and find that, okay, now that's done.
There's really not much on Netflix.
There's not. I think what we're going to be able to do in the church is really pray, read our Bibles, like getting back to basics. And I'm really looking forward to that. So
Jackie said something interesting to me yesterday. She said, and she's still working. She still has her job. It's just way different now, like most of us. But she said, I'm not sure when this crisis is over if I'm going to be able to go back to being as busy as I was. The pace is a little bit better now.
Yeah, that's interesting.
So she said she's more focused and focused in on things that really matter. But to answer the question, people who really want, all right, what are you wrestling with? What's burdening you during this time, Pastor? I mean, we are the shepherds, we are the pastors, we are the ministers. We're the ones called to stand strong in our faith and be a good example. And yet, we're human beings too. We're dealing with things, we're troubled by things. And I would argue there's three things that, for me, just have really been pointed out to me. Number one, I've been fatigued by this in a way that I've never been fatigued before. It's not necessarily a bad fatigue. It's not a good fatigue, but it's not a bad one. I'm getting plenty of sleep. I feel great. I'm running. I'm working out. I'm studying. I'm reading. I'm praying. I'm doing all those things, but there's a weight to this fatigue that I've never felt before. And I don't know if it's the interruption of the semi-routine that I had in my job, or just the weight of not knowing what's next, or having, here you go, all the digital communication now. That's been stressful.
Yeah.
My phone has never been so busy. Texts, emails, Slack, Vox. I mean, all of it, web conferences, all of those things. That's been it. But that leads into the second thing that I've really been struggling with, and I mentioned this in other videos. The second thing I'm really struggling with is just the lack of being with the people in our community. I hate that. So now all my coffees are canceled. I mean, just a week ago I was saying we can still have coffee together, and now we can't even do that. Unless, of course, you go to Scottsdale, but that's probably going to change very shortly, you know. But that's been weighing on me. Not being with our people. I miss our people so much. It's been great to be with the staff, and that's been good. And you guys, we're each other's people as well, but just the greater community. And then finally, I'm in a different season than you are with kids. You have little kids, and I want you to talk about that in a minute, but we have adult kids who are they've rounded that last turn on their graduate degrees. Shelby is a physician's assistant. She's getting ready to take her boards in December. We don't know if that's going to happen now anymore. And Darby and Joey in their master's degrees, they're supposed to graduate in May. And all of that's been put on hold, and there's no telling what's going to happen with that, when things are going to happen, where they're going to be living, how they're going to have to live. And on top of that, not knowing and the stress of being so close to finishing their schooling, on top of that is just Jackie and I are mourning, Jackie even more than me, are mourning the fact that we don't get to be with them during this time. That you know, Joey and Darby are in Illinois and Shelby's in Houston, and we feel so separated right now.
Yeah.
That's been heavy for us too. So those are the things I'm burdened with and wrestling with, and you can pray about those things, and I'd appreciate it.
Yeah.
But you're in a different season with little kids. So talk about that. What are you wrestling with?
So first, with the last week, I agree. It was on. It felt like we were on 24/7.
Yeah.
For all of last week, up until that last Sunday.
Yeah.
There was communication. There was, everything. It was hard. I really felt like our blog post, at the time of recording, was yesterday. I felt like that was, for some of us, the end of that initial sprint into, oh no, what's going on? And maybe the beginning, who knows, I might regret saying this, but maybe the beginning of more of a marathon. What does it look like we can't go at the pace we did last week. I can't. And so what does it look like to slow down? And if God's calling us towards more contemplative practices, what's it look like to do those?
Yeah.
And so that's one. For my kids, and you parents can affirm this too, there's a natural acting out that happens on spring break. They get off the rhythm of school and always being told what to do, and now it's like a free-for-all at home.
Yes.
They go nuts. It's horrible every time. And so my kids are in the middle of that. Helena called me yesterday and was like, I need you right now. The kids were just full on saying no. And she's like, all right, let's read a book. No, and they'll just stand there. So anyway, I had to go home and help deal with that. But our kids are acting out. But I had a really cool conversation with them actually where I said, your mom and I are trying our best. We're being told by the doctors what's best to do is to stay home. All the places that they want to go, Dave & Buster's and Harkin, all that stuff is closed down.
Yeah.
And so we are literally being told, stay home. But my kids are going, I don't want to stay home, it's boring. And so they're struggling. And so we're doing our best. But the kids seemed like they understood, and they're 5 and 7, but they seemed like they understood that they're going to remember this time for the rest of their lives. When this coronavirus thing happened, that's crazy.
Well, two things there.
Yeah.
We have a lot more people speaking into our lives right now that didn't used to.
Yeah.
And we have to listen to them. Mm-hmm. That's interesting. And then the other thing is, this might be a really long spring break for you.
Yeah.
So, sorry. I'll pray for you.
Yeah.
But
we're ready.
In addition to that, though, this idea of slowing down, though, there's a verse in Proverbs that talks about, and you've mentioned this, about being a steady plotter. So talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I was, thanks for reminding me. I was dropping my car off to be worked on. It was like a mile or two away, and I was walking back from dropping the car off. And just took the time to pray, and just was praying about my own anxious heart. This was right in the middle of all that. And what I was feeling anxious about as I was praying was, God, there's so much that I feel like I ought to be doing, or that we as a church ought to be doing, and how can I equip the people and really, I really felt like God was reminding me that my role in this is to be a steady plotter.
Yes.
That, yes, there's a lot going on that clearly I can do nothing about. I can't do anything about it. What I can do, though, is think about what are the 1 or 2 or 3 people that I can serve, and what does it look like to reach out and serve them? And so that was the big reminder. And so I've been reaching out to those people and just, how can I help you? How can I serve you? With just the little bit that I can do to be a faithful, steady plotter.
That's a really good word. Yes. So last thing I would talk about, and I know this may feel a little bit like grandstanding to some people, but I believe it has to be said. Our staff has responded in a way that has been above and beyond, with absolutely no complaints, and in fact with great enthusiasm about how their job descriptions have changed overnight, and how their routines have been completely disrupted, and how they're being asked to do things that they've never been asked to do before, and how the staff has come together as a result of that, and not fragmented instead. And that has been, here's the second silver lining of this, besides the prayer, and this idea of becoming more contemplative Christians that you're saying. The silver lining is how this has in many ways brought us together and just renewed our sense of dependence upon God and the joy of standing firmly in the gospel side by side has been great. And that's been every single staff member. I can't even, it's just, it has been really good, and I hope our congregation knows that. That's been really good for us.
I want to say too, on behalf of the staff, and I'm sure I can speak for you, church, too, in this, we're just thankful for your leadership in this season too. You've been shouldering a lot, and you do that well in times like this. So I hope you're able to find rest and preparing for that marathon too. But we've been really thankful for your leadership in this too.
Thanks.
So thanks for doing that.
Appreciate it. You have a little benediction for us, right?
Yeah, you ended your last video with a benediction. I thought that was really sweet. So I'm going to read from Philippians 4 as our verse on our way out. And this will be kind of our benediction to close things out. So Philippians 4 in verses 4 through 8. What a good verse for our time here. Rejoice in the Lord always. Again, I will say rejoice. Let your reasonableness be known to everyone. The Lord is at hand. Do not be anxious about anything, but in everything, by prayer and supplication, with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known to God. And the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus. Finally, brothers, whatever is true, whatever is honorable, whatever is just, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is commendable, if there is any excellence, if there's anything worthy of praise, think about these things.
Amen. Yeah. Thanks, Todd.